I think it's us now. Every time
Excellent.
you, every time you go to say something, something else comes up. Um, anyway, good morning, listeners. You're listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
live on our weekly radio show.
Each week each week try to bring some news, views, and one or two clues from the business world.
Asian Business Connections aims to connect, support, and promote the Asian and wider communities.
We'll be talking shop quite literally, not just corner shops where they look to start a business, have an existing business, or you just want to talk business. We can help.
We can help. We can help. And we do. We do so very effectively is what we do. So yeah, let me hit let's see. Do I need to do this? Yeah, let's share this lovely picture of us two, Jaff. Gosh, it is the 6th of October 2023. Do you want me to say something?
Hmm? I thought it was thought you were doing something technically there. Yeah, 6th of October, Ammar. Time has just flown by, hasn't it? I think
Crazy.
the 3rd of October is going to go down as one of the biggest, most memorable nights in the life of NUFC after what we just witnessed on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah. So scrapping of HS2, is that what you're talking about?
Scrapping of HS2. It's so political, Ammar. It's so political. Are you telling me that? Remember, when we talked about it in COVID, they just found nearly £1 trillion to give people for furlough payments just to keep them at home. And I mean, and how much is it that they're talking about when it comes to HS2 and not going up to the north of England? And you know, you can get the money when you need. So if you want to have a HS2, do you not want to connect the whole country? Is that not what it should be about?
Yeah. Anyway, headlines. So the headlines, because we're going to come on to the HS2, because you're absolutely right. But I think it's important for us to always offer a balanced perspective in everything we say and we do. So the
balanced.
headlines are UK and Ireland are the sole bidders for the Euro 2028 after Turkey withdraws. And that's big headlines, Jeff.
I wonder why Turkey withdrew. What's the reason for Turkey withdrawing?
Don't know.
Because we've had the fight.
Probably geopolitical is what they are. And I was suggesting that with a bit of tongue in cheek for our producer to consider. I think it is a big deal, but you're right. It's I think what I would have preferred to have seen up there is Newcastle versus PSG as the top headline news. What an incredible game! So, for the benefit of our listeners and our viewers, on Wednesday evening, quite unusually for me to stay past my bedtime, I attended the football at Newcastle United, and in doing so, witnessed what is probably one of the greatest, it's certainly the best football match I have attended at St. James's Park ever.
Absolutely. I think that is for most people. There's not many that can stand up to what happened on Wednesday night. And that's you're talking throughout, at least the modern history of NUFC, because we haven't won anything since 1955. So there hasn't really been any huge, significant games for the last 70 years at this level at St. James's Park. So I think it was just an incredible evening. And hopefully, Ammar, we've still got 2 huge games at home left in the Champions League. Dortmund and AC Milan, they're huge historical, established Champions League teams. So hopefully we've got a little bit more to come. And maybe we hope that it's the beginning, because those games may be a little bit more significant, because it could lead our way getting through the group stage into the next round. So whilst Wednesday was absolutely incredible, but hopefully the next 2 games.
Where does that leave us in this? Because have we not won 2 games out of 2 now?
No, we've won. We drew against AC Milan away, which was a fantastic result, because we were unbeaten in an away match, and AC Milan have to come to us. So we hope that we can get the better of them at St. James's Park. So we've got 4 points. We sit on top of the league. And PSG have got 3 points because they beat Dortmund in their first game. And Dortmund have got 1 point, and Milan have got 2 points because they've got 2 draws. So basically, that handsomely on top of the league, and we've got Dortmund at home next. Now, if you imagine we beat Dortmund at home, Ammar, we get ourselves up to 7 points, and we're not there with 7 points, but you literally have a quarter of a foot in the next round. And that's with only 3 games, and they got 3 games left. So anywhere around about 10 points-ish, it gets you through into the next round. So I think it's looking good. And the great thing is, if you imagine just thinking forward, and I guess with fans, we always thinking ahead. If you imagine if we somehow win the league and you come top of the table, it means in the next round, when they do the draw, you are drawn against, it's the top. They have to play the second team in. So you can't, if you're on the top, you're in pot 1. All the top teams that win, the top of the table, they're in pot 1, and the other ones are in pot 2. So it means that we may avoid the likes of Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in the next round. So we might get an easier draw, which might help us to progress. So I think it's been brilliant, everything the way that it's happened, because we've got these amazing teams in the draw, which we want, because the profile of Newcastle on the world footballing stage is just out there right now. So if imagine,
it's amazing. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
But then in the knockout round, Ammar, we don't want to get a PSG, because if you're out, you're out. Whereas in the table, you want to get them because you can compete and you're playing them at home. So it's worked out perfectly, and it's just a matter of us trying to come top of the table and get a team who we can beat in the last 16, and hopefully get into the quarters and see where that takes us.
Amazing. So anyway, fantastic for the city, fantastic for the region, fantastic for the country, representing England in such a significant way is such a big deal. So I think that's a big deal. Saddened. Jalf, have you ever been to the Sycamore Gap?
I haven't, but I've heard about it, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. How on earth someone could even do what they've done to nature is just horrendous.
It's it's
Have you been yourself?
Sadly, I have not. Which is crazy. Is what it is, because it's like, sorry, I was just taking a picture. Try smiling and keep your eyes open just for a second. That would have been a great picture. Anyway, for the benefit of everybody here, Yeah, I think that is a good picture. Sycamore Gap tree, 300 years old, synonymous with Hadrian's Wall. It's iconic. And I was like, oh, I must admit, I was like, it's such a big deal, but um, the response was a proportionate. And then I was thinking, well, imagine if someone had knocked down Big Ben or cut down the Eiffel Tower or something like that, right? Because it draws so much tourism and everything else. And it's comparative from a northeast perspective, a bit like that. So sad. I hope they resolve it. So our business topic of the week, Jaff, is the retail revolution and how brick and mortar stores are adapting to e-commerce. Um, it's really really interesting. How much have you shifted before I go through this particular topic, Jeff? How much have you shifted towards a e-tail offering?
Um, Not a lot, to be honest, because we obviously being a restaurant and being in hospitality, I think it's slightly different to retail because
Right.
they have to come in to have their experience. Yes, you can take that experience to their homes and this, that, and the other, but for us, we like to keep it kind of quite traditional in that regard, and um, being a restaurant, as I said, get people to come in and make sure that they have the memorable experience when they're in our kind of environment. Yes, there are things that we've done in terms of gift vouchers and A, B, C, and D, where there's part of e-commerce involved in that, where you can, there's a separate shop that you can buy some little some gifts from, or gift vouchers, and there's some accessories and bits and bobs that you can buy. So that's the extent of it, really, that we've gone as far as. We haven't done much more beyond that.
Yeah, but there's been a far more digital adoption. But I suppose for traditional retailers, yeah, what I need to do is share my screen and do this, and then talk about this a little bit. In the fast evolving world of retail, a profound shift is underway. The rise of e-commerce has transformed the way we shop, challenging the traditional dominance of brick and mortar stores. However, rather than spelling doom for physical retail, this retail revolution has sparked a wave of innovation and adaptation. E-commerce has experienced unprecedented growth, with more and more consumers turning to online platforms for their shopping needs. According to recent statistics, e-commerce sales have surged by a vast number over the last however many years, making a formidable force in the retail sector. Amid the e-commerce boom, brick and mortar stores have faced their fair share of challenges. Declining footfall, changing consumer preferences, and the convenience of online shopping have all contributed to a shifting retail landscape. Brick and mortar retailers are not standing idly by in the face of e-commerce competition. Instead, they are embracing change and adopting innovative strategies to remain relevant. One key adaptation has been the integration of online and offline experiences, blurring the lines between physical and digital retail environments. To entice customers back into physical stores, retailers are focusing on improving the in-store experience. Experiential retail, interactive displays, and personalized customer service are becoming staples of successful brick and mortar businesses. Technology is playing a pivotal role in the transformation of physical stores. Mobile apps, contactless payments, and data analytics are empowering retailers to better understand and cater to their customer needs. One of the most compelling real life examples of a brick and mortar store adapting to the e-commerce era is Nike, the global sportswear giant. While Nike has a strong online presence, they have also invested heavily in enhancing the in-store experience. Nike's flagship stores, like the Nike House of Innovation in New York City, have embraced technology to offer customers unique experiences. They use RFID technology to allow customers to interact with products digitally, providing detailed information and customization options. Additionally, Nike offers in-store events, workout sessions, and exclusive product releases to create a sense of community and excitement around their physical stores. By combining the convenience of online shopping with immersive in-store experiences, Nike has been successfully bridged the gap between e-commerce and brick and mortar. What does the future hold for the retail industry? While no one can predict with absolute certainty, it's clear that the relationship between e-commerce and bricks and mortar stores will continue to evolve. Innovations in augmented reality, virtual reality, and AI driven customer experiences may further bridge the gap between online and offline retail. The retail landscape is undergoing a profound transformation driven by the rise of e commerce. However, far from signaling the end of bricks and mortar, this retail revolution has prompted innovation and adaptation by focusing on enhancing the in store experiencing, leveraging technology, and embracing change. Physical retailers are not only surviving, but thriving in the digital age. As consumers, we can look forward to a retail future where the best of both worlds, online and offline, come together to create unparalleled shopping experiences. That's the business topic of the week. Have you been to the Nike store on Oxford Street?
No, I haven't. I can imagine though, Ammar, from based on what you're saying, if you imagine you're gonna have like holograms walking around, all dressed up in Nike attire, all the latest, coolest stuff, and showing off the new looks and what have you. And people may want to come in because it's a spectacle for them to see, and you're drawing people in because of those type of reasons. And I mean, I guess I've always felt that you want to have that retail. Well, I think physical shops, bricks and mortar, as you've mentioned, there should always be a demand for it, because you can live and breathe and feel it, and it's not the same as just ordering clothes and getting it in a box. And there is a bit of excitement when you open a box and you got some goodies inside, but I think nothing can beat that real physical experience.
I agree. And for me, it's this balance, right? Because we're so accustomed now to the convenience of buying something online and getting it tomorrow versus the experience of going to somewhere, picking it up, trying it on, looking in the mirror, whatever else. The rise of unnecessary goods and clothing has increased so significantly, right? I mean, actually, from a sustainability perspective, it's a bit concerning, right? Because I know for a fact I've ordered stuff, right? I'm going on holiday, I need some vests, right? They come in and I go, they don't look like men's vests, but I've opened them. Am I going to send them back? They're in the drawer. And because it would cost more for me for my time to then package them back up, try and whatever it is. So there'll be examples of that, and that's a very honest illustration of the impact that e-tail has, which versus traditional retail. You go in, you try something, you like it, you buy it. You try something, you don't like it, you don't buy it, right? Is the thing. And there's potentially far more traffic involved in the e-tail aspect and pollution associated with it, rather than it having a more of a sustainable impact. Because you're seeing vans delivering everything, whereas people may have got metros or buses or whatever that is. So yeah, it's I think the point around that is there's a balance, and physical out of town spaces. The metro centre will do well. However, it has its peaks and troughs. There's a significant number of empty places and spaces. The overheads associated with it are quite significant, and such like. So I think there's a balance. having said all of that, if you as an organization can integrate digital into your business model, then you will always have a future. Where you don't, you won't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we've got Hamid Motraghi coming on our show. I met with him last week. A wonderful person, someone who's been involved in the public service and the public sector for a couple of decades now. Worked nationally and on international initiatives. Anyway, Hamid can share all of that with us, but he's now responsible for inclusion, diversity within the NHS for the whole of Northeast and North Cumbria, Jalf. So he's coming on to tell us a little bit more about who he is, what he does, why he does it, and then see how we can potentially support him, as a community radio station, as a broader, wider community. And rather than focus on anything more political or negative, I think it's really, really important that we have a conversation around him, his experiences, and his plans. What is it that he's trying to do to make our region a better region for people to come and work, live, and play, whatever that is. Is the thing. So I think that'd be nice. Hamid's going to be joining us at past. But before we get there, ABC Awards coming up in a couple of weeks, Jalf. It's great. There's 11 awards. There's been a few hundred nominations. We've got an incredible range of supporters, from Harley Davidson, RTC, Northumbria University, Teesside University, Northeast LEP, Spice FM. They support it, and chai events and mango food, and there's being Brew and Dolphin, and actually it's nearly sold out. Last time I checked, there was only a few seats left, so it's exciting. Tommy Sandu's going to do the hosting again, so
yeah, that was cool.
Good. He was funny. Obviously, I missed him, didn't I? So
yeah, he's very, very good. He's a very accomplished presenter, Tommy. He's been around for many, many years as well. I remember him from the Asian Network era. So he's very well regarded, well known in the industry.
He's a celebrity. And then actually we've got Sam Allen, the chief, Samantha Allen, the chief executive of the NHS for the Northeast and North Cumbria. And we've got some amazing entertainment as well. So really looking forward to the event. More so because we're looking forward to celebrate, and having big institutes like Teesside University demonstrate their commitment to inclusion. There's a great selection of finalists that were shared today. I think it's been posted online. I don't get involved with the judging, otherwise I'd get into trouble, I think. As in, so it's Ammar's friend again. It's Ammar's friend again. It's Ammar's friend again. It's like, and everybody's my friend, so everybody would win. Is what would happen. Is the thing. So no, that is an exciting award ceremony. They're always good fun. The food is always first class, and everybody leaves feeling like inspired and excited, and gets on the dance floor and has a good time. Is what they do. So I think it'd be nice. Okay, so Jalf, what else is happening in the city centre of Newcastle?
A whole lot of disruption. If I'm totally honest with you, I mean the roadworks, absolutely causing chaos and pain to all of us. And it's been going on for such a long time. And in my eyes, it's so unnecessary. they're redirecting the roads and the routes, and no one can get into the city centre in certain places. So I think it's messy, Ammar. It's very, very messy. But hopefully, it's for the greater good in some parts. In some parts, I don't think it's going to be. But there's a lot of development with the new HMRC offices right in the heart of the city centre, just below Northumberland Street. There's a big development there. Obviously, we appreciate those things because it's important. I mean, the roads have to change because you have to block off certain roads to give the workmen the access in A, B, C, and D. The new, is it the Gotham Group, the hotel that's going to be in the old fire station? They're a serious operator, very, very serious operator. So, and there's another new hotel, Ammar, that's going to be opening in the old Bond and Dickinson building.
In the old, sorry, which one?
Next to the Maison, remember?
Yeah.
So the beautiful building next to the Maison, the big one, which used to be the law firm. So in that building, it lends itself for a very, very exclusive hotel. Obviously, they've earmarked that as well. So there is things happening in the city centre, which are very, very exciting. And in the interim, there is that disruption, but something that we have to live with. And the other big thing, I think the planning permission has just been approved for the fan zone, and the partnership with NUFC and Stack, to create something like a box park type of a fan zone, which is going to be open 7 days a week. It's not just going to be on the match day. So I think that's going to have an impact on the leisure scene in the city when that opens, because I think it will make its impact. So in a nutshell, I think that's the things that I'm aware of at the moment. Short, long.
Yeah, there's I mean, more broadly, there's so much going on. Anyway, our wonderful guest has dialed in, so let's get Hamid on our radio show and welcome him accordingly. Good morning. Let's see if I know it's always a bit of a challenge going from Zoom. Can you believe that somebody earlier this week arranged a Skype meeting, Jalf?
Okay.
And from my desk, and I was trying to work out. So I logged onto Zoom, logged onto Teams, logged onto Google, and I was like, oh, what's this? And it was and I've now, Skype was the original digital platform. No one had actually used it previously. Hamid, are you there? Oh, wonderful. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Is that right?
Perfect. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Good morning.
Yeah, good to see you. Good
morning,
see you.
Jeff.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, Ammar.
Morning.
How are things?
Yeah. No, thank you for joining us. Are you comfortable? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. It's really nice to join you. I've just been listening to the show, but I had a bit of problems getting in. So I heard you talking about the football and Sycamore Gap, and obviously the ABC Awards are coming up, which I'm really looking forward to attending. And I know it's going to be a brilliant event, and I know my Chief Executive Sam Allen's really looking forward to being there as well. And it's really important that we support ABC and have that conduit into the Asian community in particular. So I'm really delighted to be there and be part of that. So thank you.
Excellent.
No, thank you. So let's kick off, if we may, please, by you introducing yourself. Say who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Hamid Motraghi, and I'm the Director of Health Equity and Inclusion at the North East North Cumbria Integrated Care Board. The North East North Cumbria Integrated Care Board is actually an organisation that is a commissioning body within the NHS, and it works with colleagues within the health and social care sector. So NHS, care, local authority, voluntary communities, and beyond that, to deliver the services that you know, like hospitals, GPs, pharmacies, and so on and so forth.
Sorry, Hamid, your microphone's gone
I
a
was
bit.
gone off there. Sorry, my apologies. I thought it was working, Ammar, but apologies.
Yeah. Just as soon as
We'll try
I
that now. Is that any
There you
better?
go.
Oh,
There you
wonderful!
go.
That's
Hear
perfect.
me?
Yeah. I was going to say it would just literally went at that critical point of introduce who you are, what you do,
Sorry.
and then it just went awfully muffled somewhat. So this is perfect. Apologies if I hit the rewind button a little bit, but for the benefit of our listeners and certainly our viewers, I think it's important, I mean, that we start at the beginning, if that's all right.
Absolutely. And I'm glad I've got professionals here like yourself to look after me. So that's good.
Don't know about that.
So my name's Hamid Motraghi, and I'm the Director of Health Equity and Inclusion at the North East North Cumbria Integrated Care Board. And the Integrated Care Board is part of the NHS, and it's the statutory body that works with NHS, social care, local authorities, voluntary charity sector, and others to deliver the services that you know, like hospitals, like your primary care, your GPs, dentists, pharmacists, and so on and so forth. So we're the statutory body who basically gets the money from central government and then delivers it within the region. So we're actually the largest by population, about 3.5 million people in England, and the largest by landmass. So really, really big, go right from the east coast all the way up to Scotland, across down the west coast of Cumbria, and then back across to kind of right down to kind of Darlington, Middlesbrough area. So we cover a massive patch. And my role as the Director of Health Equity and Inclusion is to make sure that we're delivering those services in a fair and equitable way as best as possible, and making sure that the voices of people of, in particular, underrepresented groups are brought to the table, and we get an opportunity to hear from people's different lived experiences and understand the challenges they actually face when undertaking things that involve health and social care. So, you look at examples like, for example, COVID. We know there was a disproportionate impact on, in particular, Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. And some of the work was about getting the messages out there to ensure that people of all different ethnic minority backgrounds understood the importance of getting a COVID vaccine, but actually were out there and putting the jabs in people's arms. So there's been a lot of things that have come out of that made people understand some of the challenges and the health inequalities that are faced by different communities. And because they are different communities, their needs are different, the wants are different, the ask is different. So it's very important that we have representative voices coming and talking with us, and us indeed going out and talking to them to understand what the challenges are and how we can do that. So there's a lot of data behind this. NHS has huge amounts of data, but actually what we need is real lived experience and voices from different communities.
Amazing. Thank you for that, and thank you for doing the job that you do. Hamid, you didn't answer the why. Why do you do what you do?
It's a good question. I think so. You mentioned earlier on, I've been in kind of public service now for about 20 years. I was previously in the civil service, and I've joined the NHS fairly recently. I think probably something to do with my upbringing. My mum was always involved. I was very unwell as a child, so the NHS looked after me. That was, I could never thank them enough for that. And obviously, like many people, they've looked after your friends and family. So there's that side of things. But also, my mum was involved a lot in charity work when I was a lot younger. She actually did some stuff around teaching English to Bangladeshi women, actually, funny enough, when we were growing up. So she was involved in lots of different charities. And I think that kind of contact with different people, different communities in different parts of the Northeast kind of pushed me down that path of public service. And one of the really interesting things I think about the NHS, and what I found out over time, is there are so many different jobs within the NHS and social care that there are brilliant opportunities. So I would have never dreamed to be where I am now when I was a young lad growing up in Newcastle. And just having that plethora of opportunities, being able to go and do different things in different places, that flexibility, that opportunity is one of the biggest benefits. So I'd like to think that I'm going to be able to help out other people, but there's definitely it's very stimulating work. Let's just say that, very stimulating.
Yeah, I bet. And inclusion and such, like, Hamid, what was the interest? Sort of, because there's working in the NHS, so there's working in the civil service, right?
Mm.
But inclusion, diversity, it almost feels like one of those big hard nuts to crack. type of
Yeah.
thing. It certainly feels like it.
It is. It's definitely a challenging area, but I think that's part of. I mean, part of it is, I come from a mixed heritage background, and I understand the challenges that I faced when I grew up, and some of the racism, for example, I experienced. And that's not to say that other people don't experience those challenges in their life. And because of that, and I think you see that unfairness, and you want to see people treated fairly. I mean, I always believe in just treating people in the same way that I treat them. So is that too much to ask? But we also know that there are some things in society that can often be more challenging or hold people back, and that's across a plethora. You look at disability, you look at race, you look at LGBTI plus, gender. There are lots of areas where we need to improve as a country, as a public service, and I think that's probably what led me down that route. I think there are a lot more people now involved in this, especially younger people. They're much more aware of some of the inequity that we see in this country, but in the wider world as well. And to try and tackle that and make it a bit fairer, I think is a good thing for all of us. There's also lots of evidence that says if you have a diverse workforce, that you have better productivity. I know you're talking about it before in your show. And also there's lots of evidence to show that you get better patient outcomes and patient safety if you have more diverse teams as well. Which makes sense. If you can talk the same language as someone, you understand them culturally, or you understand literally where they're coming from, that's going to make a massive difference, I think, in how they're treated and how the care is delivered as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think everything that you've raised, it's something that appears to be self-explanatory, but all too often maybe isn't considered so, as the thing. So, how long have you been in your role now, Hamid?
So I've been in the Integrated Care Board about 10 months now. So the Integrated Care
Right.
Board only came into being in the summer of last year as a kind of a statutory body. So it's still pretty new, where some people would describe us as a bit of a startup. There's there's really brilliant people in our organization, but actually by coming together, we understand where some of the challenges are, where some of the gaps in our knowledge and experience are. So, I think this is a great opportunity for us to talk to you and to the wider Asian community in particular about how we might engage better, how we can build up that relationship and start really kind of better delivering the services that we all need and want to in the northeast of North Cumbria.
Yeah, well done. I think having someone focused on engagement and inclusion is absolutely critical, and recognizing, I mean, gosh, I appreciate that. It's hard not to delve into the broader, wider challenges. But I was reading an article just last week, and that's a big challenge for me. I should really give up reading, but the reading an article in the Sunday Times, because something that Jalf and I have always been passionate about, and I'll come back to that article for a second, is sort of inclusion, right? And what we mean by that is there should be a space and place for everyone. Now, when Jalf and I set up Asian Business Connections 15 years ago, we prioritized the Asian community because there wasn't a representative body. But very, very quickly, both of us had this ambition to create an environment where it really doesn't matter what color you are, what culture you've got, or what your religion is. There was, you could come together and celebrate those differences, that uniqueness. Is what our ambition is and was, and during that time, we ended up exploring inequalities, sort of the challenges more broadly, and started championing gender inequality as one of our sort of key areas of focus, and women in particular, and females, and launched the Awesome campaign, which was Asian Women Enterprising. And the reason why I'm picking out both women and the work that we've done is because we've got now detailed evidence and experience. So we're seeing what we're seeing with some level of authority rather than just anecdotally. And personally, I've been a champion supporting gender for a very, very long time, because the most influential and inspiring person in my life was my late mother, right? As in, she was an amazing person. And then my wife and my daughter. Anyway, the point is I've had significant influence. And the article that I just want to reference was around diabetes, and the fact that a test that has been used, because we don't know what we don't know is one of the key things, and how do we overcome that? And the test that had been used was the same test that we've used on men, or had been developed for men, diabetes pre-50. And had that be, if it was adjusted, it would then identify women, because there's a slightly different genetic makeup and whatever it is. But it just, those type of things where you realize the inequity, the inequalities. I regularly use the seatbelt as a reference. It was made for a 6-foot white man who happened to work in developing cars, is what it was. It didn't take into account females, smaller people, and it was innovated later on. And even now, the seatbelt sadly doesn't cater for pregnant women and things like that. There's a big barrier there, right? As part of this, but part of this is having these type of conversations, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're completely right. I mean, everybody does things in their own image, don't they? And that's how the world is. But we've got to kind of stop and think, don't we? And think, well, how do I actually bring in different people and people of representative voices to a conversation? I mean, I think you make a really interesting point there about kind of how things are designed, and that's one of the things you talked earlier on about kind of technology and innovation. One of the challenges around things like AI is they're created by a group of individuals, mainly men. So is that going to be representative in terms of how it's delivered? And if we use AI, we need to be monitoring it and thinking about how it responds, because it's going to be the voice of the people who programs it effectively. I also think you make a really interesting point about kind of gender equity. We know there's pay gaps in pretty much every single industry going on. Football's a great example. I know you talked about football earlier on, and our chief executive Sam Allen. She's the sort of chair of the Women's Health Network as well. So she does really brilliant work there to try and lift up our sisters in terms of career development as well. I think that's incredibly important. So we've got to be there championing each other, and men in particular being allies for women, and so on and so forth, to really think about how do we build give them voice, give them representation, give them agency in spaces where normally men are in the kind of predominant roles. And that will take time, I think, but we're certainly getting there. We're seeing a lot more senior women in organizations. That's incredibly important, but I think that has to happen across a number of different professions and different roles in life as well.
Yeah. No, thank you, Hamid. Jalf? I know you're observing.
No, I'm just listening with so much interest. I think obviously the work that Hamid is doing is very much in line with, as you said, Ammar, what we started with ABC all those years ago. But when you have institutions like the one that you're involved in doing it, you can obviously have much greater impact and maybe touch a lot more people than some small organization like ABC has been able to do, whilst we have made our impact. But when someone like the NHS is getting involved in creating a network that you have, I think it's really good to see. I think probably a radio show within the time frame that we have is not enough to have these conversations. So it may be great to maybe get you in one day, and maybe we can catch up for lunch or something, Ammar, and maybe have a broader conversation. I think it'll be really interesting, because there's so much that can be done, and especially for our community, because there's so many challenges at the moment, and I think there's so many challenges ahead. And I guess if we're doing what we're looking to do, I think we can touch and help so many people in the community, and just try and make their lives a bit easier and a bit better. Because I feel that times are really, really tough, and they're going to get tougher. And in those moments, I think we may need to help and lead a little bit more and help the communities a bit further. So yeah, let's maybe do lunch one afternoon in the next few weeks.
Well, I'd already extended that kind offer, Jaff, on your behalf, because I knew you'd be so hospitable. Hamid is coming along to the ABC dinner, so he's going to celebrate that evening with us. And then following that, I think we'll definitely get a date to come along and experience your culinary delights that I rave on about as well. But yeah, no, I think there is so much that we can do as a collective, Hamid. I mean, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it has to be done as a collective because, unfortunately, you mentioned it there, Jeff, about being a big institution, and it's incumbent on us as a big institution. I mean, the NHS on its own is the 5th largest employer in the world, and one of the largest employers of Black, Asian, minority ethnic people in the world. 40% of doctors are Black, Asian, minority ethnic, about 20% of nurses are Black, Asian, minority ethnic. So there's an opportunity there, not only to bring voices to the table, but have employment, have a positive impact on communities and social mobility as well. And I think we also need to think beyond health and social care of just being doctors and nurses. There are so many different jobs in there: estates, IT, accountancy. The list is endless. I don't even know all the jobs that are out there. So I'd really encourage people to go on the NHS job site and see what's out there. But also, we have things like apprenticeships, which is a great opportunity to come in and kind of really learn and experience what health and social care looks like. But yeah, I agree. I'd love to work with you both, and indeed more people. So I'm looking forward to the connections.
You see, Hamid, some of the things that I would like to share is being in hospitality, being involved in food. The importance of what you consume and what goes within your body is so important for your health. And I just feel that the public, we have a lot of knowledge in what we consume because of the people that we work with, the suppliers that we work with, trying to get organic items, local items, and the benefits of that. I think broadly, I don't think it's valued and as understood as it should be. And maybe the NHS, there's many things that can be discussed. I just feel that there's so much more that can be done to raise awareness of what you consume, whether it be water and whether it be the food, whether it be for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and having the breaks. There's a lot that can be done to tie that in to the work that you're doing, and especially relating it to our community. And because we know how amazing the food that we can create and eat, but it's understanding what that does to your body. And if we knew that a little bit more, and that was ingrained within our community, I think it would lead to a lot of healthier people. So there's so many discussions like that I would love to have with you.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it was a healthy and fairer program that we have within our organization. And one of the elements is around health literacy, explaining to people in a way that they can access the information that's appropriate for them. And I think that's a really great point, make people understand if this have an impact on that. And also, we know in certain communities there are prevalences of certain diseases. You mentioned them all. About diabetes is a great example. So what is the impact of eating certain foods on that, and for example, and what are the sort of mechanisms that you can use to reduce your intake or manage your conditions better? So
I think they're incredibly important points, and certainly not something that springs to my mind, Jaff. So getting that experience and broader understanding is really important. The thing for me is the correlation between health and wealth, right? And all too often, certainly if we think about ethnic communities, they tend to work in and on the business, and that whole family sort of community and network is all involved in the businesses, and they work. It's not a typical 9-to-5 approach, and then those healthy or those eating habits or those beliefs and behaviors that then it can impact diabetes and things like heart disease and all of that, because they're two of the most prevalent type of ailments that certainly affect more ethnic communities and South Asian in particular. So how can we support that? I suppose the other part of this, from an educational perspective is the two-way element, Hamid. I'm just sort of, mindful of, if I think about my brother and sister-in-law, they're devout Muslims. My sister-in-law, she wears a burqa everywhere. In fact, she was at Newcastle United. I've got a beautiful picture of her stood near the pitch with my brother watching the match in a burqa. Now that a few years ago would have been unheard of. I mean, that would have been, sort of, so those, sort of understanding that commonality, that appreciation of cultures is a two-way process, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's why we need those representative voices coming into the conversations. And we have, events that take place across the year that celebrate different cultures. At the moment, it's Black History Month throughout October. So we're having some comms and activity that you'll see on our Twitter and our Facebook and all the other usual channels. And that's one way of doing it. But also we provide training to people who work within the NHS and social care to help them understand different cultures, because we're all different. We will bring something a bit different to the table. And why shouldn't someone dress in a particular way and act in a particular way? That's entirely up to them. We live in a free society, so we should be able to do that and celebrate it. And I always find there's more commonalities than differences that we have as well. So I think we should celebrate this too. I just want to add one other thing. We talked about the Asian community, what they bring in terms of business and so on and so forth. I think there's a really good point there about intergenerational living as well, and being unpaid carers. And that's a massive area that we don't really understand in many different ways. And, I want to give a shout out to all those unpaid carers in particular. And I'd really like to try and think about how we can support them as well, because there's a whole plethora of different things we can do there too. So I'd love to get into further conversations, but I know we're a bit limited by time. But I think definitely the ABC is an opportunity for us to come together and then follow up from there as well. Ammar and Jalf.
No, wonderful. No, thank you for that. And how and where would someone go to find out more? Whether that's someone within the NHS working within the region in one of those roles, because we recognize, we've got we had some wonderful doctors on a few weeks ago who were doing some amazing stuff with the Great North Run, encouraging getting active. But the likelihood is how big the organization is, how do those that are within the organization find out more, and then more critically, how could broader communities engage and find out? Now, obviously, ABC is a conduit to be an element of that, but where do people go to find out more?
So I would definitely say go on the internet. That's the obvious option. All trusts, GPs will have something about equality, diversity, inclusion. You can absolutely go on the North East North Cumbria Integrated Care Board website or on our social media channels. You'll see all the stuff on there. You'll probably see some videos of me if you're really lucky.
Excellent.
And then that's definitely the starting point there. I'll be very happy for people to drop me a line, or you can do that via our mailbox on the website, or indeed, if you're able to help facilitate some of that, Ammar, that would be fantastic. I know you're busy, but
we'll do that. We'll do that. Without a doubt.
Brilliant. But I think the three of us, need to come together and have a conversation, because I know how influential you are. And I think this is a really great starting point. So I'm really pleased and thankful that we've been able to have this chat as well.
Thank you ever so much. I know we're going to run out of time. I need to equally share one of these slides there so that people know that we've had our wonderful guest here on our show. But thank you ever so much, Hamid, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your weekend. And thank you for what you do as well. So really grateful.
Thank you. Thanks. And nice to meet you both as well.
Thank you, Hamid.
Thanks. All the best.
Thank you.
That was our extra special guest, Hamid, joining us live on our radio show. And until next week, it's goodbye from me.